Hi, I'm Dave with Shower Concepts. Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Top. Oh, I'm on the top now. Okay. Well, I'm Harry with CMB Construction. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. Omar with
And
Daddy and Daughters.
and I am Donnie. I am with Bennett Flooring and Tile.
And I'm Jeremiah, and I'm the owner of Tiled Concepts.
And welcome to our show.
Yes,
Yeah, welcome for sure. It's going to be a pleasure having you on here.
yes, sir. So I guess to start out, let's just get a brief introduction, I guess, of your history in the industry. Who you are, the name of your company. Just give us the general rundown of who Dave is.
All right. Well, I started a tile business in the early 90s. I've run United Tile and Stone for, I guess, about 28 years. I needed to make a change, so I started Shower Concepts about 5 years ago. We're on our fifth year, and Shower Concepts is a small manufacturing distributor in the Denver area. We're affiliated with Rodcat, and you know, so we manufacture Rodcat shower trays, and we sell Flow FX, Progress Profiles, Laticrete, Rapid Recess, kind of Drains Unlimited products that are a little harder to find at your local distributors.
Mm,
Okay.
pretty good.
That's one of the questions that I think that I did have too is, some of the things that you do find at local distributors, and I know you guys are in kind of like the custom pan field. Um, is there anything in the future for possibly going commercially to where you'll have standard sizes of different kits and things that you could get at local retail stores?
The interesting thing is we looked at the standard tray market, and honestly, like Laticrete, Schluter, and several other manufacturers make standard shower trays. And as an installer, I had trouble with that because if they didn't fit perfectly, you were modifying them. And if you're modifying them, you're no longer level around the perimeter. So as an installer, I thought to myself, well, if I have to modify something, then why not just do the whole thing in mud? That was my mentality
Mhm.
when I was an installer. Um,
Yeah.
for us to make standard trays wouldn't be competitive with them because everything we do is pretty much one off. It's per the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess a little bit of a question because you said you were a tile setter. You just setting for tile 28 years, you said?
I've set tile for probably 30, 35, 36 years. I own my own business for
Okay.
28, 28, 29 years. Yeah.
So in that time frame, when you started to make the switch over to foam pans, did you have any like doubts at first about like stability, like if it was structurally sound or if it was a good product to use?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's interesting. How I got into doing shower concepts and foam shower trays is a friend of mine. I wanted to start a distributorship, and I wanted to get products in there that solve problems. That was my intention. I had
Hmm.
no idea that I'd be in foam. I flew to Salt Lake City, met Rod Catwick, and he had started a small distributorship, and he was looking at he was just starting to really get bigger with manufacturing shower pans. And so I met with him and I said, don't even give me the pitch on the foam. I'm a mud guy. I want nothing to do with foam. A customer had come in and he was giving the customer the rundown, and the light bulb went off for me. And I was like, this is really a good idea. I need to talk with him more. And as Rod and I were talking, um, we were kind of sizing each other up because both of us are innovators or have tried to innovate products for the trade. And we both have accomplished a fair amount in our tile careers as mud guys and tile guys, and in custom work. So it kind of felt like we were sizing each other up a little bit. And once the light bulb went off, we just connected. It was like there was this huge friendship immediately. And he said, I'd like to do something in Denver. Would you be interested in working, partnering up in that regard? So it took me about 48 hours, and I was like, yes, I do. I want to do that.
It
And
was that
I
cool.
tried first year with our crews because I was running about 10 crews, I suppose, at that time. And so we tried it internally before we started, marketing it to the public. And it was, all my guys were mud guys, so none of them wanted to even try it. Everybody's like, but once they installed 3 or 4 of them, they were like, this is way easier, And
Yeah.
now a lot of them that don't work for me anymore, that have started their own companies, and the company that I sold or handed off to the employees, they all buy foam shower pans now because it's just so much easier, so much faster. There's a place and time when a mud pan makes sense, but foam just changes the game a little bit, gives you more time.
Right.
Absolutely.
And circling back, tongue tied. What got you into tile?
Well,
How did
it's
it all
funny.
start?
I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, and I worked on a farm with a, a guy for many years, and the son of the guy started a flooring store, and they did carpet, vinyl, hardwood, and tile. I was walking up the hill, and he said to me one day when I was probably 18 years old, "You should be a tile guy." And I said, "Well, you should give me a job." So I tried it, and it was really, I really liked tile. I did, carpet, hardwood, and vinyl in that small town to stay busy, but my passion was really the tile. So that's how I ended up getting started. They converted the farm that I worked on as a kid to a high-end golf course and resort. So
wow.
my first tile job was across the street from where I grew up at this resort. And I got the little cherries on my fingers from grouting all the 2x2s.
Oh my God.
That was my first
Okay.
tile experience. Yeah, working with him.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
And
you're-
do they
I
still
love
do they
the
still
two-by-twos.
have that resort there?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Oh,
the same
wow.
tile?
Yeah, that's cool.
You
Yeah.
know? Oh wow.
I went there with my sister a few years back, and I had to walk down in those locker rooms just to check out the tile. It's still all there and
He's like,
Oh, very nice.
good.
That's cool after all this time to be able to go back and still
What I
see
would
it.
do today, we'll say, but it looked pretty good.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. And
What's
like
it?
back I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what's it like being in the industry for 30 years and kind of seeing things change so much? That's always something that kind of interests me with
Evolution.
the people who have that experience, and what's that entire experience kind of like?
Well, it's really awesome to see because, when I started, and I don't know that there wasn't any, I didn't have access to a grinder. So I nipped all my toilet holes and all the plumbing
Wow.
fixtures. When I started, everything was different. We were doing mud floors with tar paper and wire lath and mudding all the floors, not just pans, And then when I started, they were transitioning to Wonderboard in the area that I was in. So we were putting down Wonderboard with no thin set originally. Then we learned that you were supposed to do thin set, So there was this. One of the things that I'm very grateful for, Mark Lemke was the guy that got me into the trade, and it was Clearwater Interiors. He was big on education, so he would, send me to Dunwoody Institute in Minneapolis, and I would get some training, and the reps that would come, he'd make sure that I got trained well. So, there was a lot of change from when I started to now, but the cool thing is staying up on the technology was something that we were always promoted to do. And so when I started my own business, I did that with the guys that I trained as well. It's like, let's make friends with the distributors. Let's try to get in with the reps. Let's ask questions. Let's get an education on what we're doing and try to stay up on the technology as it goes. But it's so much easier and so much better now than it was in the 80s and late 90s. The technology's just gone through the roof, and it's awesome. And I think, that's really what inspired me to do shower concepts. Because foam is another innovation, and custom foam shower pans is really a big innovation to get younger people to be more apt to start into the trades.
Yeah.
I mean, like, do you feel like with Instagram, for instance, because that's also like something that just blew up too,
Right.
and that's the knowledge that I guess you're kind of talking about. You could actually, like, you have such a library of knowledge now that if you had it at your time, how things would have turned out to be,
Yeah.
like having all that access, would it have let you to actually build all what you did, or would it hinder you because it's too much?
Yeah, I
What
think
do
it
you
would
think
help
about that?
build. I mean, that's the one thing that's really cool now about our community. When I was young, setting tile, setting tile, you didn't talk to other tile guys. You ran into them at Dow Tile or at your distributor or whatever, but you never, I think I knew 2 or 3 tile setters that I didn't work with. And now, I know hundreds of them, and everybody's in groups on Facebook and on Instagram and communicating and sharing knowledge. I mean, it's awesome right now in that regard, that everybody can share knowledge and share their experiences and talk about different products. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you say there's anything you're kind of glad that hasn't changed in the tile industry?
I can't really think of anything that hasn't changed other than shiny side up, right? It seems like pretty much everything has changed. I mean, from the grouts to the thin sets to the underlayments to wall boards, everything has changed in my span of doing tile, and I think it's great.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
Now, do you
Well,
find the thin sets from your time different than now?
Oh, absolutely. They were basically sand in a bag with Portland and lye. When and the grouts, you could mix non-sanded and sanded grouts together when you were doing stone. When I first started, that was not uncommon because there was no technology in that bag. It was just concrete and dye and sand.
Oh wow, step by step.
Yeah, so you could, I remember and trying to get some of the guys that used to work with me when they started making, innovating the thin or grouts. I remember going, you can't do that anymore. Prism grout with non-sanded. It just doesn't. It isn't designed to do that. Because back in the day, that's what we did.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the interesting thing too, as far as the innovation of how everything's gone within the tile industry. It's also pretty cool though, because obviously back in the 80s and stuff, you wasn't able to network the way that you are today, so
No.
That's one of the things that's been beneficial for us is being able to kind of like network with each other and kind of pick each other's brains and help each other out along the way, because there's so many different things that one of us may not know that we could reach out just in the snap of a finger and get the answer from one of the other guys.
Which we do
And
often.
yourself. I mean, and yourself, because I personally called you on the pan and got answers. And again, that's the way I like to do it. Is I ask the stupid questions so I don't look stupid, versus staying quiet and hoping I know the right answers. So I'll ask all the questions, and whether they're annoying, it could be common sense to somebody, but for me, it may not.
Yeah.
So that's always good. But internet helps.
I used to say there's not such a thing as a stupid question until I started this business. I get a few. I'm going to share this one because I think it's kind of hilarious. I had the dumb question of the year for us so far this year was a shower pan, center drain, both directions. So it's center. The guy called and asked which side was the left. Dude, it really doesn't matter what side fits best. And he says, well, I haven't moved my drain yet. I'm like, well, then it really doesn't matter.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So now, for as a joke, you guys should like stamp the one side left, just for a joke.
But we've had to mark on our kneeling boards that they're kneeling boards because we've had guys install them.
Oh,
you know,
Jesus.
we send kneeling boards with the pan. We've, you know, I'm not trying to put out there that there's dumb people. That's, you know, and that's not where I'm going with this. But it is interesting how few people really understand what they're doing. There's a lot of people that really don't understand, and they're afraid to ask the questions. And I think it's really important that you do get out there and ask the questions and make sure you're doing things correctly and understand what you're doing.
Right. And I mean,
reading is fundamental as well.
Right. The asking of the questions has gotten better because, you know, I was taught plumbing from a third generation plumber.
Wow.
So any question you asked was going to be a harsh response, whether it was a good question or not. So a lot of people are afraid to ask because they're like, all right, he's either going to throw something at me or he's going to call me something. And he's going to give me the answer, but I'm just not going to like the process.
Yeah.
Which in the trades is normal. Like, I mean, if the guy's not paying attention to you or joking with you, he doesn't like you.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, I'd have a guy that would like. I'd have a guy that would break it down to me, and like I would ask him a question, and then he would like ask the question back to me, and then he would have me explain it what I thought the thought process was. And right, you know, I'm going through my thought process, and he goes, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Well, that was like, what are you not telling me?" You know, because you know I'm still fairly new. I'm young enough where you know I'm new to everything. So a lot of the stuff that the guy that I learned tile from was telling me about what they used to do like makes no sense to me. I only know it, you know, I guess with these inferior products or superior products, my bad, with the superior products. So it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where that comes from. I think people not asking whether it's right. And you'll see it on the internet all the time. You know, there's chats where they'll throw a question, and unfortunately that culture of, you know, mistreatment comes out and everybody's like, what are you doing? They start joking and cursing at you, and it discourages some people, but they also, I guess, you know, like I said, they don't speak about like how this is how the trades are done. They're teaching you something. You're just not gonna like how it's gonna be taught. And then it's gotten better though. I mean, I personally help people. I get messages all the time on Instagram. I just help somebody set a tub because he's like, "How do I set a tub?" I'm like, "Well, this is what you do," and I'm explaining all the mechanisms. But you know, I can't help myself to look at him like, "You don't know this? Like, this is like basic. The directions are right there." And that's the other thing too. Like, I try to teach people, have you read the directions first? No. I'm like, well, do that first and then get back to me. A lot of questions can be
answered. The trades are hurting right now, I think, in general, with a lot of the, you know, there's some good people in the trades, but we're not getting the people that we used to be getting. You know, it's like anybody can go to Home Depot and buy a wet saw. Where when I started, you couldn't just get a wet saw. You know, it was difficult to get. You had to be, you know, go to a tile distributor. You had to have an account at the tile distributor to get the tools and to buy the supplies. So, you know, one thing that's very different is, you know, you have Home Depots, the big box stores, and they carry a lot of things. So a lot of people can do the trades, and a lot of people don't really learn the trades. They just start doing well, I can set tile. Anybody can set tile. That's correct, but not very many people understand how to do it correctly. You know, that's the issue, is understanding the products you're using. You know, that's where this awareness, I think, is huge on Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing, because there is a lot of, you know, a lot of the big players are getting involved in that and able to share knowledge and start groups where everybody can get educated on how to do it.
Right. I mean, Instagram also helps, I think, because showcasing, you can actually see if the person does good work, because they will at some point advertise it. And that helps customer. I notice now customers are going to Instagram, to TikTok, to these personal pages to look for a contractor versus Google or Yellow Pages, because they actually get to see the work, read the comments, and in the comments you'll see a lot of people. If you see 10 messages like you're doing this wrong, you may not want to hire that contractor. You know, versus everybody saying, "Oh, it looks beautiful, it's great." You know, you showcase your work. which
Yeah.
Instagram I find is a good way of doing that, showing confidence in the customer.
Yeah.
I
Which
think
I
the
think
fact that
is
you're showing the behind the scenes, not just when the tile's
Right.
on the wall and it's done, right? Because it can look good up front, and I think Donnie's working on a project potentially where the shower's like a month old, and it's had to be torn out, or somebody sent a video in the Discord.
Yeah, a guy that I know, and speaking to the same guy, he's traditional. He doesn't like foam pans. He does everything with mud. And I'm like, man, get you some foam pans, man. He's like, nope, not a chance. I'm not using that crap. And I'm like, hey, if you stuck in
I
your
was
way, you
there.
stuck in your way. But
yeah, a lot
I mean,
of
everyone
guys
has their
fight.
way of doing it. But yeah, he's got a shower. He just went into it, and they laid the tile straight up on the sheetrock. They glued the foam pan down to the subfloor, and I mean, it was just completely rotted out. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but
You
that's
got to think about the mud guys. One of the things that I think about is, 30 years of training to get good at it. You have to, as a good tile setter, believe that what you're doing is the best that you can do in order to feel good about what you're doing. And so when I think about some of them, I've heard a lot of negative comments from mud guys, and debated a lot with them on these products. It's not that there's one way that's better than the other. There's one way that's you're comfortable with and used to doing it, and you have to believe it's the best way. Otherwise, it's really difficult to get up every day and think that I've just done 50 showers that were all second best of what I could have done, or whatever. So I understand that thinking, but if you do a comparison between the two in a new, or let's just say a remodel, and a guy is going to do a mud shower, and the customer wants a round back wall, it's square right now. You're going to demo, you're going to do a shower pan. It's upstairs in an old house, and you're remodeling it. And I was a mud guy, and I was pretty good at it. And I'm a foam. I do foam now, and it's not that I wouldn't do mud. I think it's great. It's just you put this scenario out there. Think about it. I show up. We both estimate the job. We're probably close. You should be close, right? Day one we demo. Day two, I've measured everything for foam. It's all cut in. I got my round wall done and my shower pan done, and it's installed. It's set in place. Day three, I'm waterproofing everything. They're still forming the mud, trying to get that radius. They're still working on the mud. I'm almost tiled before they're out of mud in that scenario. Now, if it's just a 3x5 pan, that's not the case. You might beat them by a day. You know what I mean? But you think about that over a year on 52 showers, if you say you do 52 showers a year, every day, that's 52 days, that you say.
Yeah, I mean the foam versus mud discussion, and I've gone down those chats where it's like tit for tat and back and forth, and it's like at the end my conclusion is it's all about what the application is.
Yes.
It'll make sense, like for example, the shower that I did, I had the pan, but the floor was so far off, and me fixing that floor would have given the door a 1-inch step up to make it level. It was flat, but it wasn't level. And I explained that to the customer. I'm like, I can level this, but you will have a giant step coming into your shower. Right. And then she was like, I don't care about the level. I just want the tiles nice and flat. I said, okay, perfect. Then we can work with this. And then mud makes sense because I would have to self-level the shower pan, and the amount of work that goes into it wouldn't make sense. Right. It would actually take me longer. So mud was the answer. So applicational purposes, I think it's good to have both in your arsenal. It all depends on what you have.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We landed a project with 190 showers, and the elevator takes forever to get up and down. It's outside the building. It's new construction, and it's a mess. And I was thinking to myself when we landed that, boy, I'm saving this tile guy's life. I mean, 190 showers. Could you imagine bringing mud for 190 showers? How many get damaged? And what's that going to look like? With these foam
That's
pans.
almost 720 bags of cement on
Yeah,
average.
yeah,
Oh my
a
God.
lot.
That's
It's
a
a
lot.
lot.
And the weight.
And then you look at it, and there's a time and place for everything, and there's not a brand that's so much better than the others. I don't think of anything. There's a lot of good products out there right now, and from every manufacturer, I think.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's facilitating. It's not killing our bodies too, which is nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done both, and I
Yes.
can tell you, I mean, I haven't floated a wall yet. I haven't had the opportunity to learn from somebody because that I need to learn. Like pans,
Yeah.
you can kind of like, learn your way. Eventually, you're gonna get it right. Walls, I feel it's one of those things where you have to have somebody there telling you. And just, I picture myself, 10, 20 bags of cement just up and down in your arm all day long. I mean, you'll be fit, but you'll be in a lot of pain.
But you're going to wear yourself out. I mean, my issue,
Right.
I'm 53 years old. I've had surgery on my wrist. My elbows are really bad, and my shoulders are really bad. And a lot of that's from packing mud, and carrying too much, too much tile, too much mud. I mean, we'd carry a lot of 80-pound bags, and put 2 on each shoulder. When I was a young guy, you'd put one on, 2 on each shoulder and carry it in, thinking you're all tough. I'm an inch shorter than I was.
You helped gravity go down.
I'm sure you had guys back in your day too telling you, all right, you're gonna wish you didn't do this when you're older.
Yep.
I've done many things, and I always have some older gentleman. He's like, you go ahead and do that, young man. He's like, but you can pay for it when you're older. It's like, yeah, I'll be all right.
The guy that taught me tiles like that, man. If I came into a job site with him and I wasn't wearing knee pads, we were close enough, man. He'd smack me in the back of the head. He's like, go get your knee pads. Go get your knee pads. I do the same thing. I throw the thin set over my shoulders, thinking I'm big and tough, and he's like, cut that shit out.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing with that because
from experience, that's the thing is it takes experience. My helper used to take 2 bags of sand mix, so 180 pounds, and he would jump off a loading dock with it. And now he runs United Tile. Luis does, and he's had work done to his shoulders, and he's started. It's just if you're young, the old guys, I would do it.
I mean that's part of the reason also. Right. That's part of the reason why I also switched careers as a plumber, because I was looking at my boss and his father, and I'm like, all right, he's got knee replacements, shoulder replacements. He's pretty much bionic at this point. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, is that really gonna be me at the end? I was like, I might want to change careers somewhere else. Like obviously he was doing cast iron back then. You were, galvanized piping.
God.
They were carrying these immense things, and we come in with plastic, and I'm complaining. He's like, "Boy, you don't even know carrying a 20-foot section of cast iron, 3 flights of stairs by yourself." So yeah, you gotta take care of yourself, And this helps. Foam pans really do help because, like I said, I love them for that aspect. And even like, for instance, the benches that I purchased, I'm trying to like envision myself building one, and the amount of framing and the amount of waterproofing that I would do versus just, just gluing it up, and we're good to go. So that's good on that end.
And a lot of fun shapes that you can create with the foam would be really challenging to do in framing, or when we used to build our seats doing mud, we would do cinder block, and then fill in the inside with mud and sand and rock. This
all you could find
bench that I think about the weight in those projects. I mean, some of those big double-decker steam showers where you got 2 seats that go all the way around 2 walls or 3 walls. Man, doing all that mud, that was a heavy, heavy, heavy shower.
Now, with as far as shapes is concerned, what's the most complicated shape you guys have printed to date?
We just did a very strange tub deck, and We built the tub deck to fit a basically egg-shaped Japanese soaking tub, and they wanted the tub deck to be 3/4 of the way in, or the tub to be 3/4 of the way in the tub deck, and then we had to take that shape and make the bent or the step into the tub similar to that shape, butting up to the tub deck and the tub. That was really challenging because it had a bevel, but the bevel wasn't the same all the way around. When we were trying, we put it in a, it goes into a computer and you have to CAD draw it, but it had 22 radiuses to make this thing, to get the taper and everything right. So it took a long time. I couldn't draw it. I mean, I knew how to do it old school. So I templated a little piece and made a template. And then I'm like, here's what we have to draw. And then I measured to tell the gal that was drawing it, I made it all the way I used to do it in mud. and I'm like, okay, we have to put this taper here. And I made marks and it was really tricky. It was really tricky to make. Probably more difficult to make than it looked. But that was the toughest we've done.
Wow.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably going to get more into more custom things coming y'all's way too. I mean, with the whole design thing and different things, people are, the innovation's not stopping. People are always wanting something new. So, I mean, with the things that y'all are able to do with the foam, it's going to be pretty cool to see some of the things coming along your way.
Yeah, we've done sinks, those floating sinks that you wrap in porcelain. We've made the whole thing out of foam and then just wrap it in porcelain. Planter boxes, outdoor kitchens. We even did this old German brew tank, and made the bottom half of that so it could mimic what was in Germany in the 20s or whenever it came from Germany to Denver. And nobody could figure out how to do it. And it's like, well, this foam is no problem. You know what I mean? I'll just
yeah.
Boom, put it together, because we start with a 40 by 50 by 97 inch block. So that's what we start with. And, this shower concepts behind me, that's foam. That's cut on the same thing that makes your pans.
That's
Very
cool.
nice.
Gives me a good idea.
Was there a point where these shapes that slope pan that you guys posted on the Instagram page what just happened?
I think we lost.
I think we lost Donnie.
He'll be back. Yeah.
It's all right.
I mean, I'm assuming that was probably a customer who requested that shape, correct?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, as far as shower pans go, it's people asking for something, and then we just create it, and
Okay.
really honestly, we haven't even touched the surface of what we're capable of doing, which is really exciting. I mean, what I'm hoping for is to get an architect in here that really can get it and see it and help us go to the next level, because I have lots of ideas on things to make, and Rod does too. I mean, Rod has made some amazing things, but you need someone to want to put it in the house and so you can really show it off. Because we're capable of building round showers. We're capable of building, 3-dimensional walls that come out. We're capable of arch ceilings and making walls where you walk. Someone says, well, I've got a tub surround, I want to convert it to a shower and I want to do a big arch. You can build that whole wall and put in niches and it's endless what you're able to do.
Yeah.
It's not just shower pans, but so it's super exciting and super fun, but you need to get people that are creative to get involved, that are going to bring that to a project, if that makes sense.
Or builders willing to take on.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too.
design.
I mean, getting an architect in there is probably a really good idea, because it made me think about when I was growing up. I used to do some stucco work with a friend of mine. His dad had a stucco business, and a lot of the times I'd go to a job and they'd be using foam for all the arches and everything like that. I'm just like, wait a minute, you're building this house out of foam? you know. So, and then you put your stuff over the top of it and everything. And I was like, man, that's crazy. So like having an architect in there to be able to kind of create these different things that people are doing with stucco, I mean, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And it can be done with drywall, and it can be done with tile, and it can be done with brick, it can be done with slab. I mean, when the shapes you can create are just awesome. I mean, and what you're able to do. And when I think about when I was doing mud or doing anything else, how challenging and expensive it was to do like a growing vault ceiling. I mean, you had a guy in there building it out of metal studs, and it would take weeks for him to do these growing vaults in these big monster houses we were doing. And I could cut that whole shape and put it together and just thin set it and screw it to the a piece of plywood up there, and it would be done. It would be perfect. You know what I mean? It would be absolutely perfect versus having to, deal with all the problems with framing, so you're doing, I remember laying on my back doing mosaics on a growing vault, and the thing, we were floating on it for weeks trying to get everything perfect so that we could do the mosaic and it wouldn't have bumps and, over this metal framing and drywall, so, I think of things like that you're able to do. And it's just amazing. It's super exciting. And like I said, we haven't even touched on what we can do, but we've done some pretty cool stuff, but I don't even think we're close to what we're capable of doing. So as soon as the tile community really gets aware of what's possible and starts pushing us to see what we can do, I think that's going to be a game changer in our trade for what's possible to tile, and create in a cost-effective manner.
Well, I imagine that'll change the game too for tile setters as well.
Oh, absolutely.
They're gonna have, if you guys are creating all these different shapes and stuff, people are gonna have to get creative with their tile setting, with trying to match that.
Yeah, but I mean, think about you going into a shower and it's a square box, and you're like, God, this is boring. They're going to do mosaic. I'm going to make a radius piece that just goes into the corner. Now you have this radius piece. You can make the shower that looks like it's rounded on the corners and do mosaics, and it just changes the whole look of a shower. It just looked or even if you did it in 12 by 12s and cut them in pieces, or 12 by 24s and made that radius. I mean, there's so many things that we can do that are so cool and so cost effective. It's incredible.
Now with those custom builds, I want to say, I should say, prefabricated so that the community can see it's possible. Because it could be the fact that they can't see it versus you guys putting a display, let's say coverings, for example, putting a display of like really complicated pieces, and people are going to see it and like, hold up a second, maybe I'll take a picture of this. First customer that is willing to pay for it, I can give you this, and they might get the ball rolling, and then Instagram will take over, and then next thing you know, you guys are building crazy shapes. Have you guys done that? No?
I'll be honest with you. One of the struggles and challenges we had is, I'm a tile setter. I'm a 30-year tile setter. I'm not a marketing guy. I mean, I built my business by word of mouth. We built our whole business by just doing what we said, doing the best job we could. If we messed up, we took care of it. We tried to be fair, honest, and do good work. So that's how the tile business was built. And building this business is completely different, because you need to make people aware that what you can do, and you need to, be able to show off what you can do. Coverings and things like that. I mean, I participated with Rodcat and Chase Twitchell. We had a booth at I believe it was Surfaces, and we're talking about potentially doing one at Coverings, I believe it is, in Florida, if I got that right.
Yeah,
please do.
These small businesses, it's really hard to get away and do that kind of promoting, because we're 5 years into it. The first couple of years, there was no way we had the budget to do that, and now we're getting closer to being able to budget that, but then you have to leave your business, which there's 3 of us here, and that that overwhelms the other people when somebody's gone.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
we're working toward getting the marketing piece dialed in, and it's just slow. It's slow, but
it takes time.
yeah, we built the business kind of the same way, and I'm trying to adapt and learn how to market and how to get on Instagram and how to, because I'm 52. Not that there's not 52-year-olds doing that, but I'm a 52-year-old tile setter. I worked with my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the
Yes,
guy that
I mean,
taught
So I'm
me
glad you
tile.
kind of mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned that there's only three of you guys. What So what type of a production? Like, how big is your production? I mean, it's only three people. Entirely.
Well, there's at Shower Concepts, there's two guys in the shop. Nishiko runs the office, and I kind of bounce in and out and help both. Okay. I like to be in the shop. That's where I'm comfortable. That's where I really enjoy it. The three of us can do about 50 shower pans a day, and about
Wow.
50. Now, we
Wow.
couldn't do that always. The first year, we were lucky to do 5. You know what I mean? But we created a manufacturing process that is a lot quicker, and we're trying to dial that in right now. We had some hiccups with a couple of the processes, but we're what we've been doing is documenting from start to finish, and here's how deep you do this, here's how you do this. So learning the manufacturing process, because there's no equipment you just go buy and they make shower pans. It doesn't work like that. You have to modify your equipment. You've got to, so we're constantly innovating the machinery to make these things in a productive manner.
I'm kind of glad
Wow.
you brought that up, because that kind of leads into one of the questions I was going to ask is, what was a reoccurring challenge or a challenge that took you a while to get over in the manufacturing process?
Well, there were lots of them. So when I met Rod, we were all doing it. He was doing it, and myself were doing it in a pretty basic way. The manufacturing process was a lot of handwork. You were doing a lot of hand stuff. So one of the things that took some time was getting to a place where you could be consistent. We finally got to a place where we understood the slopes and how to get the right amount of slope and how to do this and how to do that, and how to find center of drain after you've cut it. That we were having troubles with that. So the guys were cutting it too deep so they could find the center of drain, and then the trays could break, because they had a score in them too deep. So we to keep the center of drain, we would score 2 directions, and then where they come together was where the drain was. We had a hard time getting that score to be the right thickness. That was one thing. The other thing was, how do we make them fast? So that took some thinking, and we all do it a little bit different, but same principle, if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive.
A little bit about the foam that you use. I mean, is this like a standard foam, like something you would find at like Michael's, and you're just putting in such larger scale, or is this, I'm pretty sure it's, just not a basic foam, but tell us a little bit about that. Did it take you a minute to find the particular type of foam?
I'll be honest with you. I was really pretty fortunate. I think Rod had already, kind of started down the road. Rod Catwick with Rodcat. He had already started down the road, and being that I was working with him, he had already kind of, here's what we're using kind of thing. Okay. And it's EPS foam, and we use a 3-pound density. Some of it's 3.1, 3.2. And again, we've done what works best in our area. So some guys are doing things a little different and using a different density of foam. 3-pound is 3 cubic feet is 3 pounds, or 1 cubic foot is 3 pounds of foam. And the material comes from the construction industry. So bridge abutments, retaining walls, high-rise foundations, airport runways, bus stations, underneath bus stations, and they use the material because it's very stable, right? So they put concrete over it. If you're driving up that hill to your bridge, that typically you're driving over this exact same foam with the road and concrete on top of it, and they do that so it settle and shrink down and wash away like dirt does.
That's impressive.
Cool.
I wouldn't think that type of from foam.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying I wouldn't think that you'd get that type of like structural stability from foam. You know, when people think of foam, they just think of like packing peanuts and simple shipping material that's super brittle and just flakes off.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I thought it was like the coolers that my parents had when I was a kid going to the lake, and it's not like that. We did some cool displays here when we had a party here. The food truck needed to sit level, and it was this big, massive truck, and we made the ramps out of the 2-pound foam, which is the least dense that I carry, and they put the truck up onto those foam ramps. So everybody that came to the party saw this truck sitting on foam ramps, and it was a dually, so we're not talking a little 2 sets of dual wheels, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a semi with a trailer on the back, which was the food truck. And that thing was sitting, 2 feet off the ground on one side to stay level on the foam, because our driveway has a pretty steep hill in it. So it was sitting there perfectly level, and everybody, that came saw that. So it was, kind of, foam is not what we're thinking of. And it's hard to get that out of your head. That's why when I named it Shower Concepts, I was like, I don't want the word foam in it, because it makes people think of spray foam or the peanuts in a box or that cooler that you kick. And that's not what it is at all.
Now, why do you guys carry a tube? We refer to it as a 2-pound foam. Why do you carry different types?
So I carry the 3-pound for the pans and the curbs. Initially, I started making the curbs out of the 2-pound. It's less expensive to buy, and it's not quite as dense. Some of the other manufacturers go as low as 1.5, and they use a 1.5. I did my own house when I was doing it in our company. I did my own house first, and I put a 2-pound curb in my shower in the basement. And I said, I'm going to, because Denver really wasn't used to using foam much that I'm aware of. So I put a 2-pound curb in, and I waterproofed it with a membrane, and I'd step on that curb. And I'm like, I'm going to just treat this like on a job site and see what happens. I'm going to abuse this shower. And the membrane came off the 2-pound curb. And I thought, well, if I'm introducing this to people that haven't used foam, this doesn't look good. So then I switched to a 3-pound curb in my own house, did the same thing. This was before tile, of course. And I'd step on it and it didn't do it. And I thought, I'm just going to do the 3-pound curb. So our curbs are typically a little more money than some of the others, but they're also denser than anyone else's. And they all have a slope. So when we make our curbs, they all have about a 1/4 inch or 3/16 of slope on the top of the curb. And there's an arrow pointing that's the way the water is going to run into your shower.
Yeah, that's actually really good. I mean, all the curbs that are foam that I've always put in, you always have to make sure you add the pitch to it.
Yeah, we put it in there, and I've heard some of the other manufacturers used to, but people were always putting them in wrong.
Yeah, backwards.
So they started making them square, and I thought, I'm not going to do that, because I'm not going to make something dummy proof so that it works for everybody. I'd rather make it the way it should be, and then we'll educate the people that don't know this, and one guy at a time. And this is the way it's supposed to be, and there's a reason why it's supposed to be that way. If you're making your curb level and your tile is the only thing crooked, think about that. Underneath your tile is soaking wet. Where's that water going to go? It may go in, it may go out. You don't know, but if it's sloped, the chances of it going inside the shower are much greater than if it's perfectly still, perfectly level.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So I'm assuming like your niches and stuff, is that the lighter foam? Or like the 2 pound foam that you're referring to?
I don't build niches because the manufacturers, I can buy niches that, are
Okay.
more cost effective than making them, the niches. So I supply Progress Profiles niches,
Okay.
or I'm looking at Noble niches to see which ones I like better. But so far, I've really, really liked Progress Profiles
Okay.
product line, and Laticrete. Laticrete's got some really nice products as well. And the other thing is with the boards, it's so fun. When I was installing, I never did the niche first. I would do my layout, and I would make my niche fit into my tile layout. And so what I would do is I would use the board and I would just cut a square, make it long and fold the board up, and then just use urethane on the inside corners and put it in. And I find personally that to be the best route, because now you can make your niche fit exactly your tile layout versus having something that you just screw in. Now there are instances where that makes sense to just have a standard niche if you're, for some of these larger companies, but as a custom tile setter, I think that makes more sense to me, because then it's perfect, right, with the tile layout.
Yeah, and see, that's something I had to break myself into. And Omar, me and Omar have talked about this, or I've had the debate. It's like, I'd rather just put the shampoo box in and then put the tile. And I found out the reason why I think that way is because majority of my tile experience, I started out learning with porcelain slabs. So with porcelain slabs, you can put a shampoo box wherever you want, and when you template it, it can be wherever. Right. So it's always just in my mind, put the shampoo box first, put the shampoo box first. And then, when I started doing normal tiled showers, I was sitting there trying to do the math. And I mean, I would sit there with a piece of paper and I would crunch so many numbers. And it was always right. But the amount of time that I lost doing that was a very big problem. And then I figured out, just cutting the niche in place and putting in after you've done a couple rows of tile. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's an easier way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know your layout anyway. When you snap your level lines, you check your layout, you make some marks.
Is the Bluetooth
Easy.
Can I hear us?
What is that?
Yeah.
What was that?
I think it
was
his car. It went to his car, I think.
Hey, can we talk a little bit about?
What's that?
I think your car.
We heard your wife.
Yeah.
Hey, can we talk about
the? My wife, it's my kids.
Oh, okay. Can we talk about the curbless shower system you guys offer on your website? Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, Rapid Recess is a Colorado local guy, Joseph, and Bill Parker is kind of the face of Rapid Recess out there. Joseph's the inventor. Joseph started Quick Drain, so he sold that to Odie, and then he started Rapid Recess, and it's an awesome system. And when I looked at it the first time, I thought, why didn't I think of that? It's the cool thing is it's a tile setter that came up with the product, and a very good tile setter, and a very, it's a great company. So Rapid Recess is a metal bracketing system where you remove the subfloor, and it has brackets that go on the floor joists, and it lowers the subfloor in between the floor joists. It has what's called a Z bracket that you can pound underneath the plate. So you just hit it with a hammer, it goes under the plate. They supply you with all the screws and everything. And then, in your entry into your shower, it has brackets that goes on the plywood so that you're supported all the way around. It's a wonderful system. It makes it so much easier. I used to, sister up 2x4s and it was always a pain in the butt, and it took a half a day or a day. I'm not the best carpenter. I was a pretty good tile guy and I could frame a wall, but tile guys don't typically have all the carpenter tools and in their van. So this Rapid Recess kit just simplifies it, and it's a amazing time saver. Not to mention it's warrantyable with all the joist manufacturers. You can go on, TGI,
Wow.
and it makes it stronger than it was as well, solid piece, because now you've got metal in there and it's closer together. So it's a great system. We sell a ton of rapid recess kits and then do these curbless showers. The one thing to keep in mind is how big it is. We often get a call for a 110 by 85 shower, and they want it to be 3/4 of an inch thick, and the drain is 6 feet away from the edge. It's like, well, that's an inch and a half of slope. You know what I mean? You can't be quarter and have an inch and a half of slope. So size and that thickness, it requires some planning, because when you add subfloor, you can be at about an inch. So your shower pan would start then at about an inch and go to the sloped area. So it's an awesome system, and it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at, man. I'm like, well, I guess I have the least tile experience out of the four of us here, but I also am a pretty decent carpenter. But when I was looking through your website and I saw that, I'm like, man, that could have saved me. A long time. It's been a little while since I did tile work, but it's about a year and a half ago. It could have saved me, man, a lot of stress.
Yeah. No, it's a game changer for sure, and it makes it easy for just about anyone. We sell quite a few, and we did bring it out to a couple carpenters, and what was really interesting, 45 minutes from start to finish, they had the subfloor in and ready to go. Done.
Man, wow.
I would say, an average Joe, you're might talking about an hour and a half if you've got reasonable tools. So I've installed them. Bill Parker, the company's just fabulous. Rapid Recess. We had a call for a curbless shower, and I asked Bill if he would come out with me, and we found out the situation. So this family had. Their son had gotten in a car accident, and they were turning their dining room into a bedroom and a bathroom for their now son, who is paralyzed. And I talked to Rapid Recess and said, hey, I'm going to give them the pan, and I'm wondering if you guys can do anything with your kit. And they installed the kit with me free, gave them the kit. We gave them the pan, and helped with the tile. So I thought that was just a wonderful thing for a company to do, just with a phone call, and it really helped this family a lot in their scenario. So, it's a great company.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to try out that Recess, but in my area, it's like slowly starting to get into custom showers, standard 5x8s. We're just starting to get tired of the one-piece plastic tub surrounds that they used to sell. Every house here has those. I was like, they must have had a fire sale. Every single house is always the one-piece plastics, and obviously they always put the crappiest 2x4s behind it because I have to level them afterwards.
Twisted.
The Home Depot 2x4s that are like an S shape.
Airplane propellers.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I've been meaning to try that one. Once I find one job, I might have one coming up, then I'll definitely be trying that Recess.
You will like it if that's the goal, is for a curbless shower. There's a lot of people that are doing it for the looks, but I think with our trade, knowing those products that are out there, that's huge for giving you the ability to do that for handicapped people and people that need a curbless shower. It's a great option.
And see, next time I go to Best Tile, because Best Tile has it's like a 1.5 by 1.5 display of this Rapid Recess kit, and I sat there and looked at it for about 30 minutes. It's an awesome looking kit. But the big thing when I was talking with one of the guys there is, at least the biggest thing that I see, is you can use it with an engineered I-joist system, which is amazing because for me personally, I don't like touching them. I know you can scissor them, but I don't like touching them. No. But usually that top plate, it's not 3/4 of an inch. It's like inch. I think it's like 1 3/8 or anywhere from like 1 3/8 to 1.5 inches. Right. So you can scissor it, but you still have to shim it up. So And I mean, everybody here knows I've had a run in with having to do a repair on an engineered eye joist, and it was a headache. It put my project back a month, and
Yeah.
I just don't like touching it. Even my engineer was like, "That is a perfect, like that recess kit. That is perfect. I don't have to come in and do anything. You don't need an engineer's seal for that. It is good as is."
Right.
So that was a big benefit I saw with that rapid recess kit.
Yeah, you don't need to go get an engineer and mess with the joists and create liability with it. And they have a couple different kits. So they're coming out with some new ones that are tub conversion kits that are a little smaller and a little more cost effective. They have a point drain kit and they have a line drain kit. So what's really cool is the line drain kit, as long as the joists are going parallel to the line drain, you can lower that last bay down 1.5 inches. So then what we do if we get that pan, and this was a game changer for the line drains, because most line drains require 1 inch. So you start at 1 inch and go up, right? That's how you have to do a shower pan for most line drains. That with that base dropping down 1.5 inches, you put 3/4 down below, so your drain has a body to go in. You're not cutting it and trying to drop it into the plywood. So it actually, you just have a hole in your plywood that bays down 1.5 inches. We cut a piece of foam that pan or drain sits in, and then we have our shower pan go from 0 up to 3/4 or up to 1 inch or whatever you need it to be. So it is a game changer for line drains, because if you're doing it any other way, you're cutting a hole in the plywood to go curbless with a line drain. And you don't want to be doing that, because then the only thing supporting it is that bonding flange.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Well,
Hey,
you definitely see.
guys.
What's up?
So, well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I know we're kind of already past an hour. We'll probably
Yeah.
talk forever, but I did want to ask though, since well, I mean, I don't know. I think out of all of us, Omar, well, besides you, Dave, Omar has got the most experience. But any advice for any newbie tile setters out there looking to maybe branch off on their own? You've been a business owner now for a good while, a good portion of your life. Any advice for anybody looking to branch off on their own and just kind of get out of the fear of the unknown?
My advice would be for young guys that are fairly new in the trade is stick with somebody that's good and learn as much as you can. The business side of things is not necessarily for everyone. And there's money to be made working for a company. It isn't always starting your business that is the best thing. I would have years of experience before you do that. And the reason being is when I started mine, I didn't understand the liability side of it real well, what you expose yourself to. I didn't understand the tax ramifications as well either. So there's some pretty major, not everybody's a businessman. If you're a good tradesperson, doesn't necessarily mean you're a good businessman. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're not making good money if you work for somebody else. Because if you're good at what you do, you're going to make money, because you're going to see your value in everybody else's as well. My advice would be learn as much as you can and make sure you're completely ready to start your business before you do. 90% of businesses fail, small businesses. So you think about that, and you educate yourself on not only your trade, but how to understand the tax laws and understand the business side of things before you start your business. It's a lot easier to learn it before than it is after.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that. Like, we can do the work. We're not learning the work. We're learning the business side of things. And even today, we're all, I mean, Omar probably has the most business experience outside of probably you, Dave. But, and even then, we're all learning stuff. He's still learning stuff. I'm still learning stuff. Everybody here, has asked questions. So we're like, I don't know. Or hey, I know this. And we share this across. And it's that's the biggest learning curve. That's the hardest part about what we do, is not the work itself. It's the business side of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
finding a good mentor is key, I think, in that regard, and having a resource to go to understand the business side of things. Because, you know, when you have to do that and do the trade, it's really tough. I mean, if I could have, the only reason I started my business is because I couldn't find somebody that could keep me busy always. Had I found that, somebody said, I will keep you busy all the time, I would have worked for them my whole life, because there's good money in this trade, no matter where you're at in it, if you're good at it. Um, you know, I made more money for a long time working for other people than I did owning my own company.
Wow.
All right. Well, it's fortunately it's starting to get to that time frame. We got to wrap it up, and you know, obviously, I think I speak for everybody here that we'd love to have you back on at some point. And there's, you know, still many of questions that we could ask you. We could probably talk for hours, but
Yeah.
looks like we're
It
having to
has
wrap it
been
up.
really fun. This has been an interesting podcast. I'm really grateful to meet all you guys, and
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys, you know, giving me this opportunity to share my company, because this is the area that I really struggle with. So thank you guys very much. We'll make whatever you
Absolutely.
want. I'll stand behind anything we do. So, and I believe in all the products we sell. I mean, I wouldn't sell anything if I didn't believe in it.